Yamach Teiku, חידוש Beis, the second חידוsh. There is a rabbi who lives, I believe, in Ramat Beit Shemesh by the name of Rabbi Aaron Yehoshua Pessin, and he wrote a sefer called Teiku. And it's a collection, it's a compilation of all the Teikus in Shas, all 317 of them. And he lists how many Teikus are in each tractate. So it's a very simple חידוש of gematria and of counting, but in order to give the video some length, I'll just read the Teiku afterwards, and to understand it, to try to understand it. But the main חידוש I'm going to say right now is that the 308th Teiku in Shas appears in Tractate Me'ilah, Masechtas Me'ilah, 3b, on Gimel and Beis. It is the 308th Teiku, and it's asked by Rabbi Elazar, and the gematria of Elazar is 308. So it's just an interesting, a lot of people would call it a coincidence, but I don't think there are any coincidences, and the fact that Elazar equals 308, and it's the 300, according to Rabbi Yehoshua Pessin's sefer, that the 308th Teiku in Shas is asked by Rabbi Elazar, which is Elazar's gematria 308, is very interesting. But the Teiku is this: Boy Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar asks, in the case of a burnt offering consecrated on a personal altar, on a bama, that one brought into the temple. If one brought a bama into the temple courtyard, and it was rendered unfit for a sacrifice, so olas bamas yachid shechnisa shenifsala alu mahu shierdu. Which someone brings a bama into the courtyard, and then it was rendered unfit, and let's say it was slaughtered in the south. For example, let's say it was slaughtered in the south rather than its proper place in the north, and its limbs ascended the altar to be sacrificed. What is the halacha as to whether they should descend? If you already put it on the altar, do you take it off? Although the animal was disqualified due to the change in location, had it been slaughtered in the south on a personal altar, it would not have been disqualified. Which, okay, I'm not going to go into other questions, but immediate questions come up. Okay, Mida kama baye le lachada miklal idach pshita le yikaraba ikid Rav Yosef. The Gemara concludes that from the fact that Rabbi Elazar asked this question only with regard to this one case, one can conclude that in the other case, where the burnt offering was consecrated for sacrifice in the temple, the halacha of the limbs that ascended the altar was obvious to him. Obvious that you take it down, obvious that you leave it on, it was just obvious to him. Either way. We don't really know, but just it was obvious to him. Something was obvious to him. Either he holds the halacha is that if they're not sacrificed in accordance with Rabbah, he maintains that they are sacrificed in accordance, or they're not. According to Rabbah, you don't. You sacrifice it, you take it off. And according to Yosef, you leave it on. Chada migo, chada kamivayle. He raises one dilemma as a result of the other. Ad kan loka amar Rabba hasam imalu yerdu mechitza ketikna. More elaborates, even if Rabbi Elazar holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbah, that in regular case the limbs are removed from the altar, one can claim that Rabbah says that if limbs ascend the altar, they shall descend only there. The burnt offering was consecrated for sacrifice in the temple. In that case, the owner consecrated the offering with the intention of sacrificing it within the partition of the courtyard, where slaughtering is performed properly in the north. Pasala shalokatikna lo pasla. Consequently, if it was slaughtered in the south, it renders the offering entirely disqualified, and therefore even if it ascended the altar, it must descend. But in the case where he consecrated the offering in order to sacrifice it improperly on a personal altar, slaughtering it in the south does not render the offering entirely disqualified, and therefore, if it ascends the altar, it does not descend. O Dilma, afil Rav Yosef d'Amar im also lo tered, mechitza ketikna, kalta, shelo ketikna, lo kalta, teiku. Or perhaps the opposite is the case, even according to the opinion of Rav Yosef, who said that if it ascends the altar, it shall not descend. That halacha applies only in a case where the owner consecrated the offering in order to sacrifice it within the partition of the courtyard, in which case it was consecrated properly. In such an instance, the offering is admitted by the partitions of the courtyard, and therefore, even in a case where it was disqualified, if it ascended the altar, it does not descend. You don't take it down. By contrast, in a case where he consecrated in order to sacrifice it improperly on a personal altar, the offering is not admitted at all by the partitions of the courtyard, by means that even if it ascends the altar, it must descend. The Gemara concludes that the dilemma shall stand. It's unresolved. It's a teiku. So, okay, that's the teiku. But the point is that Rabbi Elazar asks the 308th teiku, and Rabbi Elazar equals 308, and Elazar equals 308.